Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee, just two guys talking, calling it a podcast, but ERC. All right, now last time I'm using that. Sam, CrossFit Bison, community or gym?
Both.
Okay. If you run into a relative, a long-lost friend from college, and, hey, Sam, how's business? How's work going? Oh, my practice is doing great. I'm also, doing some work on the side. I'm coaching at Bison, two classes a week. What's Bison? What's your short answer?
It's a gym.
All right. So if you told someone that it's a community, you didn't mention the word gym. Okay. What do you think the perception of that answer would be from that person?
Cult.
Some sort of weird church group, a social group that we met on Facebook and now we do a Zoom call every couple of weeks. I would feel the same way, right? I don't think I've ever told someone, hey, what do you do for a living? Hey, what's Bison? I've never said community first. It's never been one of the first 5 things that comes out of my mouth. Oh, it's a gym. Well, it's a CrossFit gym. And it's a gym that has classes every day. And, we start at 5 a.m. We go till 8:15 p.m. Then you go into what CrossFit is. You go into what the workouts are like. How old are the people that go there? Are they in good shape? I would say about 3 to 5 minutes into the conversation about what I do for a living and what Bison is, that's the first time it comes up that, well, part of what it is, it's a group of people that come in, like-minded people that love to see and be around each other, and they're trying to take care of their bodies mentally and physically. They're trying to just improve themselves, and it's a lot more motivating to do with other people than by yourself, and that's really what CrossFit has evolved into. So to me, I'm asking my question too, is Bison, all right, one of the best CrossFits in the world? Is it one of the best because of the community, or is it because of the gym? My answer, it's the community. But I do ask myself sometimes, have we evolved into more of a gym and less of a community? And this is not a bad thing. It's not a bad rep. Oh, people aren't as close. Like, if anything, I think the social component to Bison is stronger than it's ever been. Some good ways, some bad ways, by the way. But I do think it's the strongest it's ever been right now.
Really?
I do. It's not, and I'm talking, part of that is volume.
Okay.
Like, there's a lot of different groups of friends in here and there. And like, every time I go on social media, they're at each other's house, and friends and kids are playing with each other. People are getting jobs from each other. Some people are working for other people. Like, that kind of stuff wasn't a thing 8 years ago.
True.
But it was tighter, but it's also just smaller.
Yeah.
So we all kind of like friends with each other.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm going with this, is most CrossFits that do well follow this timeline. Like, small, no members, 2 people coaching all the classes. All right, starts to blossom a little bit. The reach gets bigger. More people and relatives of people are starting to come in. People start having kids. They play with each other, working for each other, building business with each other. Now, but they are still coming back to the gym to work out. That's where I kind of wrestle with this idea a little bit. So I want to talk about, if you're building a gym, if you're part of a gym, are you building more of a gym workout area, improve our physical, mental health, or are you fostering a community of people that happen to work out with each other? What are your opening thoughts?
I'm trying to think about you and what you and Chris did when you guys opened, and it was both. It was building a gym, but also building a group of people. If you want to call it a community, you can call it a community. But, the people who stuck around and stayed with the gym were people who fit into that group or community. We had lots of people who started for a while and then they left. Like, I could think of like at least 30 people who got in, started for a while, and for whatever reason, either they didn't fit into the group or didn't fit in the community, or being part of a community wasn't their thing.
Right.
They ended up going. There are some people who have stuck with Bison, even though they don't do all the social stuff, they don't
Right.
do it. They just show up and work out and they go.
We have some people that show up to the social stuff and don't work out.
Yeah, I could call out a couple people, but I'm not going to because I'll get into trouble. But you're right, like absolutely. So it's interesting to listen to you like speculate about this, but then I look at what you did, like what your actions were, and you built your gym based on building a community.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't intentional, that's what happened.
So exactly. So one of I mean, love or hate Greg Glassman, he has said so many things back in the early days of CrossFit that still hold a lot of weight. And I remember reading an old article that he said that he wrote, and it said, build the community first, the gym will come second. Or build the community first, the business will come second. Meaning, don't just get into this trying to make money right away and all these giveaways and gimmicks and all this stuff. Just get people together, get them to respect and like each other and build that and foster that community outside of the walls of your gym. And that is what's going to make this sustainable. That's the word that comes to my mind when you're saying, what are you trying to build? To me, if you're trying to build a community of people, bring people together, that to me is going to make the business side of it much more sustainable than building a gym where you're just focused on workouts and results and regionals and games and sport, right? To quote Jason Ackerman, right? Competitors don't pay the bills. And what that line means is it's cool to have a lot of good athletes in your gym, especially guys that make the games. It's cool, right? It ain't doing shit for your business. It's just not. Like, there are so many good athletes out there that think they deserve a free membership or that they're going to build the business of the gym because they're, they rank well in the CrossFit Open. And it's just not the case. So to me, if you're putting all of your attention, new gym owners, right, or current gym owners that are trying to build better business, if you're so focused and obsessed with how good your programming is and how many people can do muscle ups in your gym and how many people can make quarterfinals now, right? If that's the focus of your gym, in my opinion, it's not as sustainable as, hey, what can I do to get people to want to come back and see each other? What can we do here to introduce strangers to each other and get them around each other enough and have a positive environment for them to be in, so that when this class is over, they're still interacting with each other outside of the gym. And then it becomes friendship, relationships, maybe even further. It can become marriages and kids and all that, right? That's where I think we came into this process saying we need to build the community first. The other stuff will come later on.
It has to go hand in hand, because I'm thinking about our new members now who are starting, and they're not coming because they want to chit-chat all the time.
That's true.
What they're doing is they come in, like I'll see a 6 a.m.er come in, and he or she's relatively new, and they're paired up in the lane with someone who's been CrossFitting for a while, and maybe they're a similar body type, and this guy's been CrossFitting for a while, and the new guy sees the guy who's been CrossFitting for a while do an incredible performance. He is lifting really well. He's killing the WOD.
Very true.
He's doing really well. And this guy who's new is like, wow, what is this guy doing that is allowing him to perform at such a high level? He's not a pro athlete. He's just a guy who comes in, he commutes into the city just like I do, does his job, but he really cares about this. And he's joking around with a bunch of people. He's enjoying himself, and yet he's killing this workout. Mm-hmm. And I've seen these guys, and they're fascinated, and they're like, wow, this is really interesting. And so he starts coming in more regularly. He starts seeing progress himself, because let's face it, it doesn't work if CrossFit doesn't work, but CrossFit works.
Yeah,
that's why we're doing it, is because it works.
Right.
And so then they get hooked. And I just remember talking to someone at the holiday party. They were just like, I can't get enough. I'm starting to get really deep into this stuff. Like, I'm watching stuff, and I'm looking at like these videos of lifting and this and that. And that's where you get them, is because CrossFit works. Mm-hmm. They see people who have improved tremendously on it. Mm-hmm. And then they fall in love with the group of people who are doing it getting super fit, and they're getting super fit.
And the workouts.
Right. So, I mean, that's always the honeymoon period. And then you're like 15 injuries later, you're like,
just wait till that first achy shoulder.
but that's how you pull them in. And that's how you build both the gym and the community at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, yes, the answer to this question, by the way, if it's both. You are trying to build both. And I think there's an order to it. I think community comes first, gym comes second. But there are pros and cons. If you lean towards one side more than the other, I want to talk about that because I think there's an art to this. There's not a science to it, which is, I think, why a lot of owners struggle here is you have to find like that middle ground of like, we're a gym and a community. We're pushing people towards fitness and physical achievements, preparing them for, the known and unknowable out there, right, in the real world. I get that a lot now recently. Like, people can play with their kids. They can move boxes and do yard work without getting achy like they used to. Like, I always love hearing that stuff. But I also hear like, hey, I finally met my tribe. I met people that think like me and act like me and talk like me, and I don't feel like an outcast. Like, that's important too. So the answer to this, a successful CrossFit gym, they do both. But there's pros if you lean too hard in one direction. If you lean too hard in the community direction, meaning you're only trying to build a community of people, right? You're not really paying attention to the workouts that much or being responsible with programming. You're just trying to get people in here. I actually think that leads to burnout / injury more often than focusing on it being just a gym. Because I'll tell you what, if I see this all the time, okay, I can predict, did this a long time, what days are going to be busy here and what days aren't, based on how cool the workout is. If I just wanted to get as many heads in here as possible, I would basically just do like 15 to 20 minute mixed modal barbell gymnastics, high volume, body weight stuff every single day. We do hero workouts every week. We would do the girls twice a week. We would do past open workouts every week, right? Multiple times, like 4 or 5 of them, right? It'd be crowded because they're fun workouts and people come in, and if my only goal was to see 190 names on the whiteboard every single day, that's what I would do. And I have another community issue too, but I want you to touch on that too, because again, I like cool workouts too. There's a couple I look forward to. There's a couple I don't.
Yes. I looked at this week and the workout you programmed for Thursday, I was so happy because I was like, the other crap that you programmed for the rest of the week, I was like, this is really...
You wouldn't want to coach the other days.
Oh, it's just broccoli. It's all broccoli. Yeah. Like, I want the...
I think Wednesday's cool, but whatever. I won't be offended.
I want the cherry pie, which was Thursday. Like, So just as an example, so if you didn't see the programming this would be last week, actually. It was
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be 18-minute AMRAP, 9 toes to bar, 6 burpees over bar, 3 heavy power cleans.
Yep.
And that's just like...
That's so CrossFit.
Classic CrossFit. And I was like, dude, I want to do this
18 minutes too.
Yeah, just straight.
Like the last 3 minutes of that WOD are gonna be so fun to be around.
Right.
And everyone's gonna be on the ground. Like it's gonna be a fun day to be.
Right. And so, but the stuff that you program for like Monday and Tuesday, or like I was just like strict press and this
goblet squats,
rowing. Yeah, like timed stuff, and I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So, but you do that all the time, and the reason why you do that is because you're right. You're not packing the gym. And I've seen the workouts where like people have just, instead of having 20, you have like 12 or 10.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. And that's because you're programming holistically.
Right.
You're programming for our capabilities to make us better.
Right.
And most of the stuff that makes us better isn't the sexy stuff. It's the broccoli. And hopefully people will understand that. And that's how you retain the people for long term. Because if you programmed hero WODs every week and all the sexy stuff every week,
and it would be packed. The short term would be awesome.
And how long would that last for? Until everyone came in like beat up and totally dying.
Right.
Like you're programming for us functionally to be better over the long haul, and that's where your sustained growth is going to come from.
Right. Another con of thinking just community, right, is getting a little too wrapped up into some of the social stuff. I think the social component to CrossFit is vital for long term, but it's also the thing that can kill it the quickest. Stuff that happens outside the gym. We just had a big event at the party, right? And it's always a great time. We're so grateful to Sam and Susan that they do this year after year. It's like unbelievable that they, I almost don't believe that they are doing this, right? Especially when the cops show up at 11 o'clock. And but the bad things can happen when CrossFitters get drunk. It's just, well, honestly, I'm just gonna say people, because. Yes. Well, and especially when it's like a celebration, right? It's something that we look forward to all year. We already have people asking about what the date is next year so they can get a babysitter, right? I mean, people really do look forward to this. And, you know, if the bartenders have a little extra heavy pour, or people have a little less discipline with how much they're drinking, how much they ate, bad things can happen. Bad enough to the point where someone might want to leave the gym. Something might get said to someone that's like really offensive, and they no longer are friends with these people because of X, Y, and Z. And it really was a result of the social component, which if we didn't do it, maybe those people wouldn't be have that relationship fractured. So that's a struggle I have sometimes.
You're 1,000% right. And I would say I've been on both sides of it, because
so have I.
I mean, I've gone to those parties and I've gotten crazy and like said and done things that I really wish I could have taken back.
Right.
I would say this: a community should be strong enough, hopefully, to kind of hold together, even though there are fractures within the social relationships.
Agreed.
Even though people do or say things that maybe weren't like the best thing to do, like at that time, or maybe in retrospect. Like, it was so funny because Liz, you know, my daughter came back for Thanksgiving, and Sasha went and worked out, and she came back and she's like, Liz told me all about the time you guys were in Hoboken. And I was like, ooh,
oh no,
that was a long time ago. Okay, like don't do what I did. Just, you know, just remember those.
Learn from my mistakes.
Learn from my mistakes. That's exactly right. And so I would say the first thing is that a community should be a relatively safe space.
Yep.
So I don't want to judge because I've been there.
Yep.
2, you should have built a community, hopefully, that can sustain and hold, even though some crazy stuff might be happening. But I have seen many boxes, many boxes, and heard of them where they just completely fell apart because of big fractures within the social relationships
with the wrong people.
I mean, we could just, we could name like at least 5 off the top of my head where just the box just totally imploded because of this.
Absolutely, you're right.
And so
that's why I always tell our coaches, like, it's such a sensitive business. Like, it can disappear like that for something really, honestly, stupid.
And so as a gym owner, as coaches, as athletes, like, you should know, like, it is a safe space. You should feel comfortable. It is your community, but it is also fragile in a lot of ways. And it's something that you have to care about in a lot of ways. Otherwise, what you assume or take for granted is, you know, a good group you're right, it could totally fall apart.
Yeah, my line on community is always that it's built in the gym and then it's solidified and strengthened outside the gym. So if you really do want a strong, sustainable community, you need to meet each other outside the gym. You need to have them come together outside the gym. It's vital. I do think it's vital to Bison's success and future success. We need to continue to do these things. But I want it to be a responsibility that every member of the community that has clearly benefited from this place, that when you are out, there should be a little bit of responsibility in your head that you take on, as you are representing this community. You're representing all of us. If you want to get really deep on this, like, some of your decisions are going to impact my family, my wife and my son, how I'm raising them. That's how I'm providing for my family.
It's your business.
So I want that to be some sort of sense of loyalty / responsibility, that when the social stuff happens with Bison and the community is coming together with the effort and thought of making it better for everybody, there should be a little voice in your head there that there's a responsibility. But I also want you to know that community, myself, my wife, and my son eventually, we have your back too.
Yeah, and have some forgiveness for people too. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, when I'm sitting there throwing up at a Home Depot after a party on the little grassy knoll, like, just give me a little grace.
Yep.
I mean, come on, like,
Yep.
you know, don't be so judgy to everybody.
Yep. I love that.
Let it go.
What are some cons of building a gym, really only focusing on gym? And really, I probably have to err this towards more performance. Like only thinking about, hey, we got to get everyone shredded and ripped and jacked into quarterfinals and to the games. If I was that guy, and I'm sure I've had probably some spurts where I was that guy. I don't think for a long time, but I do think I probably did have some spurts there where I was a little too into that side of it. What are some negatives there? And I don't want to get too repetitive with like, hey, if we do hero workouts and girl workouts and load the gym up with fun WODs every day, people are going to come in too much and get hurt, blah, blah, blah. What are some other negatives too, other than the obvious, hey, if I do competitor programming and just up everything and make everyone go heavier and harder, they're going to get hurt. What are some other negatives to making it too gym-based?
Well, I would say first, I liked the fact that you kind of leaned towards performance-based in the past.
Okay.
And I don't think you should ever be apologetic for thinking that everyone can perform at a higher level than what they thought they could.
Okay.
And so you could lean toward a little bit too far on that side if you want, but I would much rather have a gym that kind of pushed people like that than, say, a franchise Orange Theory where you're just like, okay, everybody row for 20 minutes and now get on the treadmill and you know,
stay in the orange.
Yeah, exactly. like that's
don't try too hard.
Right. Like that's not what CrossFit is.
Yep.
So if you push the pedal a little bit hard, okay, fine.
Okay.
I think that the issue is that you have to meet your athletes where they are. And if you're pushing everyone into injury, like, listen, we are all adults and we're supposed to take care of ourselves and realize it. But let's face it, CrossFit now is a different animal than it was, say, 8-10 years ago.
Absolutely.
When everything was go unbroken, like, you know, best time, like, you know, forget about
blackout.
Like just go ham every day. So I think we've matured and you've matured in terms of your programming, how you approach athletes, just like CrossFit has.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would say that if there's an old school CrossFit gym out there that's still like doing that, like they need to wake up and be like, dude, this is not how you're going to retain your athletes. Like it might sound sexy to say you're going to have to like dig deep every day.
Yeah, go dark all the time.
Right. Like, and we used to, but I think it's almost been self-selecting at this point that the gyms that have done that and have not sort of come around and been like, let's meet more of our athletes halfway. Let's bring them up and, you know, give them successes and improvements that they can see before like challenging, you know, and making it a little bit harder.
Yeah. Or they outsource their programming. They have someone else do it for them because they don't know how to meet their members where they are. Right. That's a problem too. But a negative I have, tell me if you agree. This could be something that you disagree with. If we made this too gym-based, meaning we started canceling some of our events, right? The social events. So we were just like, hey guys, we're just going to come here and measure everyone's body weight and body fat and measure your scores only, and that's it. If you guys want to hang out on your own, you could do that on your own. But we're going to cancel the events, and we're going to no longer have a budget because Bison has a budget for the amount of money that we spend on events every year. We're going to save that money for more machines in the gym or better barbells, right? A con of going that direction is, other than the fact that I don't think people would be as close, I think it actually could create more animosity in the gym between good athletes and bad athletes. We fight that a little bit, all right? I think in the spring it gets a little dicey sometimes with open quarterfinals and maybe in some cases semifinals. But for the most part, I think I try really hard to manage that to make sure it's not an issue. If we canceled some of the social stuff and made it all about gym, I think we'd have a bigger disconnect between, you know, the really high-end athletes and everyone else.
I think so. I think we've done less events socially than we used to because it's too big now.
Yeah, right.
And it's just really hard.
And a lot of people get together on their own.
Yes, too. They do. And so I think the good you found a balance in the sense that like some of the events like the CrossFit Open, like that's a big event that everyone gets together for, even if you're a casual gym goer, if you're really hardcore.
That's probably the highest attended event.
I would say so. And I think that when you focus on certain key events like that, you get to bring everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you got rid of every other event but the CrossFit Open, you probably could do okay with that. Like in terms of community.
At this point, 10 years in, we could.
You could get away with it.
Yeah.
I would say I don't mind. Maybe it's because I've gotten older and I just don't want to go out so much.
Yeah, right. That's true.
That I'm more
you're talking to two people that don't like to go out that much.
Right. So I don't mind it being a little more gym based and just having a couple key events that are really big.
Mm-hmm. But
I think if let's say you just moved into the area, or let's suppose like you are looking for more of a push in terms of your fitness and finding like-minded people, it probably just having a true like showing up to a Fitness 19 or a Planet Fitness and doing your thing, it's not gonna help you, and you need
to separate yourself from that.
Yeah, and you need a gym that can do more for you.
Yeah. Now, can the answer change year to year, month to month? Because I think it does here. I'm going to give you an example. I think once the Open rolls around, our gym, actually, you know what? I'm going to say in January, because people start thinking about the Open when we start reset. And a lot of, like, I've already talked to a dozen people in the past few weeks about, hey, let's get through the holidays. Don't be an idiot, but, you know, don't hold yourself to too tight of like the eating standards and working out. Just make sure you're healthy. Once January comes around, let's go. We're getting ready for the Open, and then you have the Open. Some of you are going to have the quarterfinals. Some of you might even have the semifinals, okay? That is where my mind, personal for myself, but also the people that I really try to help out the most in the gym, it does go towards the performance side. That does not mean the best athletes. It just means the people that are really into performing at their highest level,
right?
Like making sacrifices to get to here. A lot of my attention goes in that direction. And then you have quarterfinals, and then people are we're making a post about them. I actually wanted to make a banner with everyone's name every year in the quarterfinals, like have banners every year who make quarterfinals.
And the names might be really small because there's going to be a lot of people.
Yeah, I know from now on. But I listen to people and their opinions about this. That's kind of been turned down because, again, it can create this like something that people are just looking at all year. Like, all right, those are the best people. And it could create some animosity there. So I've gone away from that. But even with that, staying away from the gym, Open, we get a little competitive here with the intramural teams, right? I post the top 10 scores, scaled in RX every week.
Mm-hmm.
I never do that throughout the year, ever, right?
Yep.
Then we have quarterfinals. We make a post about them. We put their names out there. We essentially, this year, we're probably going to be closing the gym for a night or two.
We have to.
Yeah.
Logistically.
So that's me going towards performance and away from community, right? I mean, I'm going to try to make it a community event. I want people to come out and support them. But that's the time of year where I do feel like the, quote, better athletes, good athletes, ones that just simply put more into it, that want these competitive goals, they do get lifted up. And I want them to feel that. I want them to feel supported and that there is a purpose behind what they do in the dog days of summer and throughout the fall, right? But that's why I think my answer can change. I actually feel a difference when I'm programming for the gym, that there are certain times of the year where I'm like really into like performance in gym. Other years I'm like, let's take it down a notch. Let's have some fun. Let's do some hero workouts, some girl workouts responsibly. Do you think this answer can change year to year? Should it? Or sorry, month to month?
Yes, but I think there's a consistency to it. So the reason why this works in terms of performance based is because this is CrossFit. CrossFit workouts are not easy. You will not join and stay with a CrossFit gym if you don't like difficulty or adversity during your workouts.
True.
And so anyone who has stayed at any CrossFit gym for any length of time has a certain mindset that I think gravitates towards pushing yourself, to trying harder, regardless of what level or capability you are at. I have seen many athletes that I work out with, they are not doing bar muscle ups. They're not snatching 225. They are, they're squatting, 65, and maybe they're, doing a couple dumbbells for their handstand push-ups or whatever it is, but they are still pushing themselves to their limit.
Hell yeah.
And they are really trying really hard, and it's not pleasant for them. Let's just put it that way. They are done every workout, and they're pretty wiped. So if you don't like that, you're not going to be part of this gym or any other real CrossFit gym. Yeah. So being performance-based, it does vary, like the intensity, like, in the summer or like in the fall. Like, are you dialing up the intensity for performance? Not really, no. But come open, yeah, you're push. And that's why everyone at the gym as a community actually gravitates toward that, because we all are appreciating the people who are doing their best. And the way the intramurals is set up, everyone has to do their best for their team to win. You have to participate. You have to do all these things.
True.
So it's about not just the most elite athletes, although we do have some very elite athletes who I love watching, because I know the preparation, the training
process.
The process that it took to get there was very intensive. And then sometimes in the workouts, you just see this beauty of a human being giving their like max effort.
Yeah, there's definitely something to watching someone truly try as hard as they can, and knowing, not only that, knowing everything before that led up to that moment.
Right. And so that accomplishment really jazzes me, which is why I love watching that.
Right.
And why so many people do. So whether that varies, it varies during the year, but listen, we're CrossFit. We are performance-based. That's the bottom line.
It's true.
And if you don't like that, then you should go find another gym.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I do. I think that hearing you say that, I'm always like, it's both, community or gym. Maybe it goes back and forth, but really the consistent baseline is gym at this point in our game.
Absolutely.
And I really think a quality CrossFit can't lean too hard in either direction. And I think that's been the downfall of some.
I look at our members, and the ones, regardless of their physical performance, their mental, like the way they challenge themselves mentally is what I admire.
Mm.
You can figure someone out by seeing how they work out.
Absolutely.
Much better than a lot of other ways in terms of like learning about their personality and who they are.
Yeah.
And so the gym part drives the community, because you are kind of weeding out the ones that you really actually kind of don't want in your community.
If you're hiring the next Bison coach, Sam, he's not, by the way. All right.
I give my opinion, but it doesn't matter most of the time.
No, it does. But does this impact who you hire?
Yes.
This conversation.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, because you're ultimately going to make that decision. But I will say this, for sure, the person you hire, one of the priorities has to be,
Can they adhere to both?
Right.
Can they accommodate?
Can they contribute to gym? Contribute to community? Like, and that's a huge responsibility. That and it has to come natural. Like,
not easy to find either, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of people, they lean in one direction more than the other. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. But
how are you going to decide? Because I know you are very performance-based, so you look at the best athletes and you're like, I wonder if they might make a good coach.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I definitely measure a potential coach in how they perform, but not necessarily what are their scores. It's more about what you just talked about. What has their process been like for the past few years? And when I do watch them or coach them, I see that, right? Are they constantly making excuses? Are they constantly complaining? Oh, but they still have good scores. Like, I don't really care, right? But if their scores aren't that good, comparatively speaking, but the attitude's right, the approach has been right, they've been coachable, they've listened well, they have taken the right steps, they do listen, right? Those are things that matter more to me than the actual performance side of it. It's what was their process like. That's why, Sam, I always say, I want to know you for 2 to 3 years before you even have thought to coach here, because I want to see you go through the calendar. What's the calendar to me? It's the CrossFit calendar.
Right.
Open, Murph, Hero Week, Holiday Wads, your post-summer blues, which a lot of people are still struggling with right now. How are you through the holidays? How are you when you repeat that cycle? Did you change anything? Are you the same person? How do you deal with injuries, right? How do you deal with some dips in performance? You know, how do you deal with like a real nagging injury, right? Does your personality change? All that stuff, that matters to me.
How about community, though? How does that impact your choice for a coach?
That, you know, if you're trying to make the gym both, right, I do think the coach needs to have some sort of contribution to both, right? You can't just be gym. You can't just be the athlete, and you can't just be the social bug, right? I think you have to find a way to contribute to both. What can you do to make both of those better? Because it's your job to make both those better. So does this impact who I hire? Do I feel like, hey, we're struggling a little bit on the community side? I would like someone to tie that together. Like I want the next hire to be there.
It's not that they're just tight with a few people.
Yeah, it could be even a certain group of people.
Or that they're just very relatable and like approachable to a lot of different people.
Right. Like, be honest, no offense to our coaches, because I'm a part of this too. We're all getting older. You know, we're all getting deeper in. Some of us are getting deeper into that the parenthood game, right? Like when I started coaching, I didn't have any kids. Storms didn't have any kids. Adam Ramsden didn't have any kids, and they're all great. DeCarlo didn't have any kids. They're all great coaches, but it's harder to be that consistent community factor that you were prior to kids. You had the priority is your family, and it should be. I don't want everyone not. So I think there is some thought that goes into if we need to build the community from that perspective. That's something I struggle with all the time. Do you hire people that are in certain life situations that others aren't? Should that really matter that much?
So youth matters here for you.
It can. There's definitely an angle to it that where youth does matter. But to me, being able to relate to people matters. And more experience in life, more ability to relate to people. Fact. All right. I think that they're the best coaches in our gym at relating to others and being empathetic toward others and truly understanding what others are going through are older. And we just got done talking about eval coaches.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important components of coaching. So again, it's a hard line to draw. Does this discussion impact our membership base? Do we, if we want it to become more party central, more events, more, Instagram pictures and videos of people partying on a beach together versus people being in the gym and working hard and working on snatch pulls and muscle up progressions, that's going to affect who wants to come to your gym, especially CrossFitters. We call them layups, people that come with experience, right? We've had a lot of those. I actually think the majority of our new members over the past year have been experienced CrossFitters from other gyms.
They've been really amazing, like really amazing.
Yeah, and they needed us, we needed them. It's a nice little relationship, but it's mutually beneficial and respectful. But I do wonder sometimes, why doesn't everyone want to come here? No, I'm just kidding. But I do think from a perception, outside perception, some people might be like, they don't have enough young people that go out. Like I'm a young, weekend warrior. Like I love to work out hard, but I love to party harder on the weekend. Or vice versa. Dude, I'm cool. I don't want that holiday event scene. I don't want, a 1 a.m. bender. Like I just want to get some Bulgarian split squats in and fix my strict pull-ups.
We got a lot of those. Let me ask you this, just a side note. So for all of our people who've come from other gyms and, have joined us, how long does it take before you mentally start thinking they are CrossFit Bison and not, oh yeah, that's, so-and-so from so-and-so. Like that happened early with the 201 crew that came in a while ago, Kristen and DeCarlo and all these people. Like if for a long time, you start thinking these are the CrossFit from so-and-so place. And then at some point your mental transition is, okay, they're part of our community, like truly part of our community now. And you don't think of them as the former other gym place members. Like how long does it take for you to sort of mentally get to that point with somebody?
Go through the calendar, a whole year.
A year? Only a year?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Because I feel like if they haven't left, some people come to our gym, they leave and usually that they'll come to our gym from another gym and they'll get a feel for our blend of community and gym. and they'll leave within a year.
I would say for me mentally, it took almost 2 years.
Okay.
Like there's a huge crew of 5 a.m.ers. And that first year, I was still mentally like the ex so-and-so place. And now I think of them and I'm like, no, they're just like part of us now. But it takes a little while for groups to kind of integrate a little bit.
We might have different answers on that because I coach them more. I see them more. Mm-hmm. Like you see those 5. I mean, I know when you come and work out, you'll see them on the way out when you come in at 6. But if I'm coaching someone that's coming a lot at 5 a.m. and I coach, on average 2 or 3 per week there, right? And then the Saturdays every other week, I see them a lot. And that, like, my experience with them, that means like I see that blend of gym and community in them.
Do they think that they're part of the community after
that would be a more interesting question to ask. I mean,
because we're tribes. All these boxes are tribes.
Yeah, they are, and you can tell some aren't comfortable early on. It's just like they don't have like their status there. Dave L and Britt L, the Lancelottis, they were a member at our gym just for a few months, and then when Kat and I made Legends in San Diego, they flew out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying the answer can be different for
that is true. They kind of, I never thought of them as somewhere else. Like they
stand out to me because to me, like that, not that they had to do that to be a part of the Bison community, because a lot of money and stress for them too. It's not easy to watch CrossFit competitions, by the way, especially across the country and that kind of competition. That's a really stressful situation for both of them. And they did it with like, just like the most humble attitudes. They were a big deal that weekend. That's when I'm saying these things can be accelerated by certain events at the gym. That's why I think a year to me, like I'm going to know who you are in relation to this gym in a year. Are you the person that shows up to quarterfinal weekend when we need help changing weights and you don't even know anyone? Are you going to still show up and do it? Because they did. That person did. That person did. That person did. That kind of stuff can really, but if you're really like only gym, don't really talk to many people, then yeah, maybe it would be more than a year. But I do think it can be done as soon as a year, but not for everyone.
Interesting.
All right. Thank you, guys. That was a good discussion on gym versus community. Remember, the best ones do both. The ones that stick around do both. But if I had to give a new gym advice, I would say definitely, to quote Greg Glassman, focus on your community first. The gym will come second. But at some point, you're going to need to make sure that it's known by everyone, your staff, you included, and your members. It's a gym. All right, because when you introduce your gym to people across the world that don't know who you are or relatives or friends, you're not going to say it's a community. You're going to say it's a gym. That is a community. It's not a community that is a gym. All right, thank you guys. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.